Hey guys, so welcome back to another video, and in this video I'll be showing you how to animate in Blender Grease Pencil. So I'll be covering some of the basics of animation in Blender Grease Pencil, and by the way I'm using Blender 2.83, which is one of the latest it's 2.82, so it's one of the latest updates which was recently released by Blender. So you can also use like 2.80 or something else. It should have like grease pencil in it. So yeah, let's get started. So first of all, like, launch your Blender and then go to this 2D animation section. So when you select it, you'll have this screen in front of you. So right now there are so many tools, you might get lost into it because there are so many things to look at. So I'll try to break it down into simple things. So well, first of all, there is these three things on your right. There is this zoom option, there is this hand which is move the view, and there is this camera. So when you click on the camera, it actually like gives you the whole 3D environment around. So you can like drag this 3D thing on your like 3D navigator, and then you can see everything else in 3D view. And when if you want to go back to the camera view, just hit the camera again and it will show you the camera view. So right now, like, my camera is totally fitting the border of the white screen, but I want to make it much more smaller, right? Because if I want to draw something, these things will get like in front of me, right? These bars and all these signs, icons. So well, just drag this plus icon, which is the zoom tool, and it will make your it will make your camera a bit like shorter. I mean, not shorter actually. So when you drag this around, it actually decreases the amount of space you have on your right, so you can actually see much more of the camera view itself. So I really like this one. So as you can see, like, I can also draw and my lines won't get into these icons anymore. I can clearly see the end of the camera and all. So yeah, let's get into this other tool, which is the move tool. So you can drag this around to move the camera, but it won't be that much useful for now because we will be just animating into 2D plane itself. It might be useful like when you're animating into 3D or maybe something else. So right now all you need to know is this camera and then this zoom option. Okay, so now how to actually animate in this. So there are so many things, like, there is layer animation and all. You have to use layer, then onion skinning. So there is all this option available in this one. So right now I'm going to teach you how to make another layer. So well, first of all, like, you will have like two layers by default. So on your right, as you can see in the stroke section, which is here, it's above the materials tab, I think. Yeah, it's above material properties, this line thing. So you will have this line and fill, which is already there by default. So let's say you want to add another layer, so there is this plus icon on your right side, which is add another layer. So when you click on it, it will add another layer as gp_layer. So you can double click and rename it as new layer. And let's say you want to delete this layer, you don't want it anymore. So like, I'm pretty sure like most of you actually tried deleting with the delete key, but it doesn't really work. So what you do is, there is this minus. So minus actually removes the layer and plus adds the layer. So just click on the minus button and it removes it automatically. So what you do is okay, so right now I'm going to show you some of the tools you will get like on top. So there is this radius thing. So it when you increase it, it will increase the radius of your brush. And there is this strength. So if you increase it to the fullest, I mean to the maximum, it will make your brush a very opaque brush. So whenever you paint something, it's very dark and all. And by the way, these two buttons you see like on right side of radius and strength, these two are for your pen tablets. So when these are enabled, you will be able to use your pressure sensitivity. So when I disable these, I won't be able to use them. You see how my strokes are all very thick and there are no like pressure sensitivity to it. It's not like there is no thick or thin lines coming even though I'm applying the pressure. So yeah, if you want this, just enable it, and if you don't want it, just disable it. So it's totally upon your preference, like what you're trying to make. So right now I'm just gonna enable it. I'm gonna disable this strength one because I really want these black lines to come through. So I only enabled this radius thing, so it will only like vary the thickness of the brush itself. And let's talk about how many brushes are there in this thing. So when you go on this thing, there is this gear and tool icon on right side. It's above the render properties. So when you go here, you will have this brushes option. So when you click on this, you will get these brushes by default. So the first one is airbrush, the second is ink pen, the third is ink pen. What is this? Ink pen rough. Okay, so I never used it. And there is this marker, then chisel marker, and then pen, then pencil, and pencil soft. So just use whatever you want, like it's totally according to your preference. You can use the ink pen if you want to, or you can use something else. So right now I'm just gonna choose the default pen which you get when you open Blender, so because it's easy to use and all. So yeah, so now let's make something. Like, how do you actually animate? So what I'll do is I'll go back to the layers option so you can see everything clearly. Okay, so let's say I want to make a bouncing ball. So that is one of the simple thing which you can explain how things are done and all, because it's very simple animation which anyone can make. So right now I'm gonna make like a ground plane, and then there is this ball which is falling down and bouncing back. So how do you do that? So well, first of all, you see, for the ground plane, the plane will remain there till the end of the animation. So that means the ground plane is a common part between all the frames. So I can actually make the ground plane in the background and then use the same line for the all of the frames of the balls. So because then I won't have to draw the ground plane like all the time, right? So let's make this into another layer. So I'll make another layer here by clicking on this plus icon, and then I will rename it as ground plane, and then I'll draw a straight line. Okay, so by the way, how do you draw a straight line? Which is by holding Alt and then dragging. It will like we are mostly like 2D artists, right? So we are very used to Photoshop, and in Photoshop it's actually Shift, but in Blender it's actually Alt. So it's a bit of difference in the shortcuts, but you'll get used to it eventually. So this is the thing we made, and let's make another layer for our ball animation. Okay, so we made two layers now. The first one is ball and the second one is ground plane. So now let's make the ball itself. So when I try to make a ball here, you see, yeah, and now I want to draw the next frame. So how do you do that? So to switch between the frames, you just have to use the arrow keys on your keyboard. So it's basically like playing Need for Speed or something. Just hit the forward key on your keyboard and it will show you the next frame. But when you make a new layer and when you try to draw on the next frame, and let's say I want to draw the next frame of the ball, when I draw it, you see it's not actually onion skinning. It's not showing me the previous ball, but I want to see both, like the previous and the forward. So I'll have to turn the onion skinning. And how to turn that on? On your right side, like when we created the layer, there is this three, you see, options there. One is the lock option, then this eye section, the eye button, which is to hide the layer itself, and the lock will lock the layer as in Photoshop. And there is this third one, you see, onion skinning. This one is onion skinning. So when we turn that on and when we try to draw on the next frame, you see it's showing me the previous ball. So this is how you animate. So let's make this. So now I'm just pressing the forward key and then animating the ball itself. Okay, so let's make this. Okay, so my animation is done, and now let's play it. So there is this play button on bottom of the screen. Okay, so when you play it, it's actually going forward. It's not really playing our animation. So okay, so in the animation tab, you can see we drew till 33, right? So we want to loop this animation from 0 to 33 so we can see our animation, right? But when we play it, it's actually going forward and forward to like 200, 300. So how to loop that till 33? So that's really easy. Like on right side bottom, there is this timer section, right? So it says starts from 0 and end at 250. So we'll change this 250 to 33. So when we change that, let's play it again, and you see it's now looping. So the animation is looping now, and you can see the whole animation itself. Like there is this ground plane, and then we got this ball and all. So this is how you actually make a basic animation into grease pencil, and this can be really done really well. Like you can also use 3D behind, you can like light the whole scene up. So let's say, because this is too basic right now, it's all 2D. So let's say I want to add a 3D building behind, maybe, like just to show you what you else can do with grease pencil, because this is really powerful tool. You can actually use backgrounds as 3D, and then you can like animate the whole 3D scene, and then you can draw a 2D character on top of it, which is very similar to what Blender Grease Pencil team did with the new animation. I think that the name was Hero. So they released it, I think maybe a year back, I'm not sure, but that was really good. So I'll just show you how to do that. So to add a 3D, I think we'll need a new tab itself. So on top of it, where it's written file, edit, render, you see there is this rendering and then plus icon here. So just click on the plus icon, which is add workspace. So we are going to add another workspace, which is general, and then layout. So this is the whole 3D scene, like the whole 3D thing you get when you open a new Blender file. So this is the layout section, and this is where our camera is and the whole animation here. So when we play it, you can already see the animation here. And the cool thing is you can add another like scene, like 3D scene, which I'm going to show you now. So let's pause this animation. Okay, so now let's add a plane. So just hit Shift A and mesh and add plane. And when you press S and drag the mouse, it will resize the mesh. So remember the shortcuts, because it's really going to be really useful for you. Okay, so now I'm going to move it by pressing G and Z. So you can actually move the thing, the plane or the objects, either by clicking here transform tool, and either by clicking these arrows, or with the shortcut keys, which is G, and then pressing the axis. So if I want to move it to the X axis, just click G and X and then drag your mouse, you see. So these are just shortcuts which you can remember by practicing. Okay, so now let's move it a bit up, and then I want like a small, maybe a wall or a building. So I'm just gonna add another cube with Shift A, and then I'm going to transform this. By the way, the transform tool is here on left of your screen. So, and it is the best tool. Like I don't really use move, rotate and scale, because transform got all of them. You can rotate, you can move, and you can make it thin or big, whatever you want. So let's make this a thick. Yeah, I like this one. And then move it according to the camera. Press S and then resize it according to your want. So I'm actually just giving you an example what you can do with this. This is not like really necessary to follow right now. These are just examples, like the power of Blender Grease Pencil. So right now I'm just gonna add another thing. Okay. Okay, so Now let's see our screen. Okay, so now let's light it up with EV. So I'm just gonna choose EV, and then I'm gonna press Shift A, light, and then I'm gonna choose like a point light. And you can change the intensity of the lighting by going to the object data properties, which is above texture properties. And in case you have clicked somewhere else than the light, you won't actually get it. Like if I click on my plane, it will show me something else. Like these are properties of the 2D plane. So if you want to change anything, just select that object first. So if I want to change the lighting, just select your light and then go to the light option, and then just increase the power to whatever you want. So I'm just going to use 300, and then I'm going to choose like a yellow, maybe yellow. Yeah, yellow color looks fine. Then just render it. Okay, so how do you render this? And this is all white. I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so let's go. So you might know about these 4 things on top. So this first one is viewport shading, which will like make everything like invisible and you will be able to see the lines. It's kind of like wireframe mode. So, and the second one is solid mode, which is the default mode, and the third one is material mode. So if I added like any material of the on top of these objects, it will show here. And the fourth one is render mode. So this is the combined package of everything. Like you will get the final result into this mode. So if you want to see like the how lighting is looking and texture is working with the light, just go to the render mode. And by the way, why is this so bright? It's because our background is almost white. That kind of rhymes. Okay, so just go to the background world properties, which is here, and then just click on this color thing. Click color, and then drag this value to almost maybe dark. That depends on you how much dark you want. And let's play this. You see, I already got like a 3D scene here, and this animation looks weird because it has nothing to do with this 3D scene. I know, but these are just examples what you can do with you. Like I already told you the basics, and then you can use this according to your imaginations. And let's say you are imagining something really cool, like a whole cityscape, and the camera is running in the cityscape like in front of the buildings, and there are this plane chasing another character. Like you can do that. It's really cool. So we got the animation, we got a 3D scene, and now how to animate the camera. So that is really cool. So right now what we'll do is I'm gonna teach you how to lock the camera itself, because it's gonna be really important if you're animating in 3D. So right now we did the 2D part, which is to animate this ball, but now we want to let's say animate the camera, which is panning and zooming to the ball itself. So we can do that. So just click on this camera icon. Click on the camera icon, then click N. So when you click N, you will have this transform section on top right, and just go to view. When you go to view, and when you there is this section like lock camera to view. So what this does is it will lock your camera. And how to explain that? Let's say I want to move this camera around without disturbing the camera itself. So when I try to hold my middle mouse and move it, you see it's now out of the camera mode. So how do I change the camera while being in the camera mode? So to do that, just click N, go to view, and then lock camera to view. So when I click to camera view again, and then when I try to move the camera, you see it's moving with the camera. So that is really cool. So this will really help you to animate in 3D. So now let's animate this camera. Well, I'm gonna choose a shot which I really like in this scene. So let's say this shot looks cool. Yeah. And now what I want, let's make this light a bit different. I guess that is fine. Okay, so how to animate the camera? Okay, So let's drag this animation timeline a bit up so we can see the keyframes and all. Okay, so now first is to select your camera. So just select the border of this camera. So the camera is selected now, and now we'll have to animate this. So how to animate the camera and add the keyframes? So to add the keyframes, you have to click I, which is insert keyframe menu, and then for camera just click on location and rotation. So this will record the location of the camera and the rotation of the camera. So when you click on that, it will register this particular location and rotation of the camera, which is right now in the 3D scene. So now the first keyframe is this scene, and now let's move your keyframe to almost the ending, which is 33, and let's say you want to move the camera a bit here and it zoom in and then dragged up, I think. Yeah, and now I want this to be the ending. So how to do that? So now just click I again and then click on location and rotation again. So now when you play back the animation, you see the camera is actually zooming in. So this is really cool. And now you see the whole animation in play. Okay, so I don't know why this is showing up. That is weird. Okay, yeah, that was probably like I copied something by mistake, I think. Anyway, and now let's make our scene a bit cool, like with dramatic lighting or something. And by the way, you can also go back to the 2D animation and you can color this ball by making another layer, and then you can choose that. Wait, yeah, so like right now, so when you go back to the 2D animation tab and like you have the object mode, so how do you get back to the draw mode? You might be panicking right now, oh my god, how to go back and draw on top, because I don't see any pencil here and all. So the first thing you have to do is you'll have to select the any drawing you have done, like this thing we have already animated, just select it. Okay, select the ball, and then while you have selected it, just click here, which is object mode, and then go to the draw mode. And now we are back to the drawing mode. Okay, so now you can also color the ball. So how to color the ball? So as in Photoshop, you know, like we have the line art on top, and then we have the color layer below the line art. So this is our ball and we want to make another layer, so just make it by clicking plus icon and then drag it down. Okay, so okay, no, so you cannot drag it down. So what you do is there is this arrow section which is move grease pencil layer. So this is top and this is bottom. So when you click on bottom layer, it will go down, and then when you click on the upper arrow, it will go up. So let's move it down and then rename it ball color. Okay, so now let's increase our brush radius, strength. Yeah, this is fine, I think. And then okay, so now you want to add color here. So how to do that? How to add color? So to add color, you first have to go to the material properties, because color is a material. You will have to add that. So there will be these four by default: black, red, gray and black dots, and you can make your own colors by clicking here this plus icon, and then when you click plus, all the things which were showing before will just vanish away, because you've already made a new blank layer type of color, and just click here new. This will give you a new material. So rename your material as, let's say, blue. Yeah, and now what you do is you click here, which is stroke, and then color, and then just move it to the white section and just click blue, and then when you paint, it will show blue. So this is cool, right? So you'll have to do that. Oh, wait. Okay, so let's fill this. So our color is done, and now when we play it, you see it's following the line and all. So it now looks really cool. And let's see the rendered mode. Bam, we have like a 3D scene with a 2D animation, and I don't think we really need this ground plane because I already added a 3D scene. But this was totally out of the blue, like I wasn't planning like I was going to add a 3D scene. But yeah, let's just leave it, it looks cool. Okay, so now I'm gonna teach you something else now, which is also awesome. So how to like add another 3D object, and then how to animate that 3D object like into the scene. And let's say we want to move this light also, like it's drifting from left to right, and now we also want to add a fog to our scene. So let's make this super complicated. So let's put this into, let's go back to the layout mode. Let's once see our animation again. So this is our scene. You see the camera is panning, but the light is still there, and I want to make the light a bit more dramatic, like when it's animating it's moving from here to here, like it should be cool. Okay, so let's make this light here to the first frame. Okay, so now to animate the light, it is the same thing as the camera. So first select the light itself, then click I, and then select location, because you are not changing the rotation. So you have to select the animation according to the thing you're doing, because in the camera I was also changing the location as well as the rotation, because I was turning the camera, right? So the angles were changing like from 0 degree to maybe 30, 40. But right now, because I'm changing the light from left to right, it's only changing the location, not the rotation. So let's just select the location and then drag this to the last frame and then move it to here, and bam, that looks good. And then click I and then location, and let's play it. Ooh, you see the light is also animated now, and now it looks really cool. So let's zoom out of the camera and let's see from a top view. And now you can see our camera and light both are animated into the scene. You can also add like a texture. So let's add a texture for this. So I'm gonna use like a procedural texture which is already there. So I'm just gonna show you like how to do a basic texturing. So let's click here on plus, then go to general, and then go to shading. Yeah, go to shading. So this is the place where all the magic begins about texturing. So let's hit the render view so we can see how the texture is going and all. So I want to make this ground a bit like a concrete texture. So how to do that without using any image? So there are a lot of procedural textures available in Blender or any 3D softwares, because there are a lot of like mathematical equations. I'm not a math guy, so I don't know what's going behind, but I do know like they use like a math formula or something to generate that kind of repeating textures and all. So let's just click here, new. So we are giving it a new material, and right now you will be really scared because this looks like a mess. Like, what is this wires and all, principal BDSF BSDF, sorry. So yeah, so how to add the texture. So right now what we'll do is, you see this, so whatever we're going to add will be connected to this thing, principal BSDF, and then this material output. But material output only got like two of them, which is volume and displacement. So you can only add like a volume to it or either a displacement to it, but we are not going to use volume or displacement in this plane. And by the way, we will be using volume for the environment, like when we'll be adding the fog. So I'm gonna teach you that how to do that in like few minutes. So let's add the texture now. So to add anything here, just click Shift A. Shift A is same like in Blender. Shift A means to add something. So just click Shift A to add anything you want. So now go to search and then search for noise. So this is noise texture. Then just, and by the way, how to pan here and all. So hold the middle mouse to pan around and scroll to zoom in and out. So this is basic. You will already know by like doing it few times or something, like by mistake. So if we try to connect this to anything, it won't really work because there are nothing. I mean, it will show, but it's not that like good. So okay, so let's disconnect it. So now what we need is, we need like a bump information because we will be using this noise texture as a normal map. So let's click here, Shift A, then search BUMP bump, then click here. Yeah. So now add the color to the normal and then normal to the normal. Okay, so it might take some time. As you can see, there is this texture now, but it's too big, like it looks like a water or something. So what we'll do is we'll scale down. So just drag the scale thing in the noise texture, just keep scaling it down. Oh sorry guys, that I did a huge mistake. So the color should be connected to the height, not the normal, sorry. This is why I really love teaching, because you get to learn a lot of your own mistakes. Anyway, let's scale this up a bit. Okay, I think this is too noisy. Yeah, this is fine, but you see it's too dark and all. And why is this happening? It's because of the strength. You see in the bump thing, our strength is almost full, like 1.0. So let's reduce this down to, yeah, this looks fine, I think. Yeah, that looks fine. And then the distance is, I'm gonna reduce the distance also, something like that. Yeah. And then detail, I'm gonna increase the detail to 16. This looks really detailed and it looks awesome. Okay, so I also want to change the brightness because it's hitting everywhere in the dark as well as the light. So what we'll do is, okay, so we'll gonna make this a roughness thing here. So what we'll do is we're gonna tell this software that where to hit the light, like to the dark or to the white areas. So we're gonna just press Shift A and then search for color ramp. So color ramp actually adjusts the values, whatever, like the dark and the white areas. So, and we're gonna make a copy of this noise texture. So how to make this copy? So just click Shift D. Shift D is for copying in Blender. So connect the color to factor and then this color to roughness, and then let it load up. Okay, so now it's hitting very differently, right? So let's play with this black and white by dragging around the values. So in color ramp, when you drag the black values, it's changing a lot. It's like it's hitting more of the black values, less of the white values. Oh, wait, let's use this according to our want. And yeah, I think this looks fine. It looks like a muddy place, so we're gonna use this. And let's go back to our layout section and let's see the result. Yep, it looks cool. And now we're gonna add a last thing, which is the fog of the environment. So how to do that? Just go to the shading option. Wait, I'm gonna deselect this shading here because it's taking a lot of memory from my laptop. Okay, so now we're gonna change the environment, right? So we cannot do that in this world thing, even though we can do, but let's make it much more easier. So we're gonna select this object here in the shading tab and then go to the world option, because we are changing the whole environment itself, you know. So when in world you will get these two, which is background and then world output. So the background is connected to surface, and you can see like this background is gray in color because we already changed the color right before. So you can also make it black or maybe something else, but we don't need it right now. So we need a fog. So what we do is click here, shift A, then search volume scatter. So you will see this volume scatter. Just click here and then connect volume to volume, because we are changing the volume of the environment, right? But when you connect it, everything will go black. Why is this happening? Because our density of volume scatter is too high. So just reduce it down to 0.3. 3 looks okay. It looks like very cinematic scene. And by the way, you can also use these techniques for your concept art. You can like make 3D scenes and then light it up with these settings and all, and then you can like import it to Photoshop and then paint on top. So it's also a really good workflow for concept art, because Blender is now really great. Like the amount of development they are doing, it's just insane. So really huge thanks to the Blender team. Okay, so let's go back to the layout section and let's render it. Bam. Let's see the result. Ooh, that looks awesome. By the way, we have to make the light a bit bloom, because it's not really showing that much bloom effect, and even the ambient occlusion, it's a bit less. So how do you do that? So you go to the render properties, and in render properties, where you actually select this rendering engine, which is Cycles EV. So you will see all these settings here, like the ambient occlusion, bloom, screen space reflections. So just turn ambient occlusion, select bloom, and then turn on screen space oh damn. That is tough. That is a tongue twister. Screen space reflection. Okay, so increase the ambient occlusion to maybe, okay, so it won't work because the scene is too much, I think. I'll leave it to like 5. Yeah, that is fine. And yeah, bloom is fine. Threshold, you can play with threshold, how much bloom you want, and 0 is like a lot of bloom. I think 0.7 is fine. Anyway, now I really like the animation itself. Let's play it again. You see, it's already like a 2D plus 3D, and this is really something I love about Blender, because this workflow is getting awesome. And the only thing I would love if Blender would have is to get another set of brushes. Like if we can import our own Photoshop brushes to Blender, that would be really awesome. But I don't think it's gonna be happening right now, but let's hope that happens, because that will just make it more awesome. And now let's render this. So what we'll do is, so we'll go here, which is output properties, and here you can change all the outputs for the render quality of the image, I mean the animation. So the frame starts from 1 and then ends at 33, which we have already done here while we were animating. So here in the output section you have to change it to the folder you want to render the animation out. So click the box here and then select your path wherever you want to render the final animation. So I'm just gonna choose desktop, and then I'm gonna name here like test animation, accept. So it will render the animation to my desktop. And what else do I want? Okay, so the file format is PNG, and I don't want PNG because if I do that, there will be like thousands of PNG on my desktop and it will mess up my desktop, which will like make me clean it up later, which I don't really want. So just change PNG to the last one, which is MPEG video. You can also select anything else like JPEG or something, but I'm just gonna select this MPEG video, and then just click on render and then render animation. When you click this, it will start rendering the whole animation, and then you will get the final result. So it will take some time, but Eevee is really fast. Imagine if you were doing that with cycles. And you might be asking like why I'm not using cycles for this. Well, because if you're working on like, let's say, a really realistic type of animation with very realistic grass and realistic textures, so you will definitely want to use cycles, because cycles is much more precise in terms of lighting and in terms of like light, especially lighting, the way light bounces and all, the way ambient occlusion is shown in cycles, it's much better than Eevee. But Eevee is really fast and real time, and this is what I really like about Eevee. So yeah, this is the whole tutorial, how to like animate in 3D as well as 2D, and I hope this really helps to you in some way. And if you like the tutorial, please hit the subscribe and like button and share it with your friends, share it with your dogs, families, because you never know, dogs can be concept arted too, right? And they might be better than you. Anyway, so, and by the way, I also started my Patreon, so if you want to support me there, you can always do that, because I'll be uploading all my files there, and any painting which I'll be doing later, I'll be uploading the images, the PSD. So yeah, and yeah, if you want any updates or want to like message me or something, just go to my Instagram, which is art by ha. So you can message me there, and I'm pretty sure I'll reply you, because until and unless it's not a really negative or maybe a bad message or something, of course I'm gonna reply you if you're in some sort of trouble or something. So yeah, you can message me there if you have any inquiries, or if you want to keep up, like keep getting updated. I always update my stories and all. So yeah guys, see ya in another video, and tell me in the comments what kind of videos you want to see more. And yeah, let's meet in future. And by the way, I'm also working on the Discord group. A lot of people asking me to make that, and yeah, that will be up in like few days or something. So let's see you in another video. Bye.